Alright, so here we are on a desktop. We could decide to use any of the browsers, be it Google Chrome, the Brave browser, Microsoft Edge. There are other browsers like Safari, Mozilla, Firefox, and so on. Opera as well, but I prefer going to Google Chrome. So I just installed it. I don't need to sign in. I'm going to set it as my default, and then I'm good to go. I think this will need me to change the default browser in here. While we're at it, we might as well do that. So the default browser here right now is Microsoft Edge. If you need to do this from scratch, you can go ahead and search for default, and it gives you default apps, which is what we have open right here. So we need to change the default app for our web browser. You can change for the other ones if you need, that's totally fine. But our focus here is for web browsers. So I'm going to select Google Chrome. Once that is done, I need to close this, and going forward, every time I open an HTML file or try to go to the web, it's going to open it with Google Chrome. Awesome. So we're done with that. Now let's maximize this. Yeah, I got it. And we are good with the first step, which is installing, or rather downloading and installing your browser. If you need to download Google to begin with, all you need to do is search for, so if you need to download Chrome, download Chrome, and you would see, could you click on the sponsored link or the other one, it's all good. Once you go to the download page, you can specify downloading the software for your particular operating system. Are you downloading it for Android? Are you downloading it for other operating systems? And so on and so forth. Okay, so this is the home page for Google Chrome. Once you get on there, you cannot miss the download button, but we already have Chrome. It's actually running, so we're good to go with that. Let's close that and move on to the next tab. Next up, we need to download Visual Studio Code. You can simply type VS for Visual Studio, or you can type it all out. Searching for that should give you a bunch of options. Obviously, you want to click on the first one. It is a Microsoft product, but somehow it works with Mac and Linux. So yes, it is a freely available Microsoft product. Clicking on that link will take you to Visual Studio Code web page. Here is the download page. You can check out more information about the documents or documentation, updates, and so on and so forth. You can download it directly from here, or select the version you need to download for Mac operating system, for Linux, for Windows. If you need an installer, a zip file to use in another computer, and so on and so forth. All right, so we'll go ahead and just click on the Windows button and download it. Once it's downloaded completely, you should be able to see at the top right, depending on the browser you're using, it's going to show you the progress, how long it will take. This will take me less than 10 minutes to download, depending on your internet speed. Once it's done, follow the instructions, install it, and you're good to go. All right, the final thing we need to do for our setup is to go to github.com. GitHub again lets you upload your files to the internet and track the changes easily. In a nutshell, you can also have it running on your machine, so you have a local version and a remote version. We'll talk about those at the end of this entire program, but it's good to have that to begin with. It works also very seamlessly with Visual Studio Code, so you should be just fine. In this case, you don't need to download anything. All you need to do is sign in if you already have an account, or sign up for a new account. If you have issues creating a new account, you can simply sign in with your email address. So on here, you can sign up again using GitHub, or rather using the button on GitHub. You don't really need an enterprise version. If you're working in a corporate setting, you'll probably be using Bitbucket, which is an enterprise version of GitHub. So on here, you can sign in using your email address, you can use a passkey, or you can create a new account. So it's as easy as that. Once you go ahead and create your account, you should be able to have everything that you need. So it's very seamless. Ask for your email address. Let's say dkvtools2024@gmail.com. The email you have provided is already associated with an account. So yay, we cannot use that anymore. All I need to do then is sign in. Once I sign in, I should be able to get back into my account. So yes, go ahead and use, let's say, just add that in there, if it will work. No, that's not a good idea. So yes, once you sign in, you will be able to go from there, but this is for you to save for later on. Awesome. All right, so let's sign into GitHub. After using the correct username and password, the credentials look good. It's going to do something which is useful, using multi-factor authentication to send a code to your email. Once you receive that code, you can go ahead and enter it in there. The code is always going to be different, so it doesn't really matter. It verifies it. Once it's verified, you should be able to get access to your repository. From there, you should be good to go. All right, so you should be able to see your repositories, the home page, your activity, and so on and so forth. For now, we're going to save this and continue from there. But if you need to start afresh, you can create a new repository. Maybe we can make it public, and then go ahead and it failed. Yay. Let's try one more time. We did not give a name, so let's give it a name. 100 days IT challenge. All right, that's what we're going to call it. It's available. And create a repo, and we should be able to use that going forward. Awesome. Now you can easily get to V2's DK Foundation 100 days IT challenge, and we should be good to go. If you need to share that with someone else, you can simply give them access to maybe fork or clone your particular GitHub repository. So we'll look at that when we look at GitHub later on in our 100 days challenge. All right, so our Visual Studio Code looks like it's downloaded successfully. We can now click on that and run the application, or run the installation per se. Installation agreement, we do need to accept it. Once it's accepted, we move forward, install it in a particular location. If you need to change it, you can browse through, but I'm going to leave everything as is. It needs at least about 373 megabytes of space. We do have that. Also, do we need to create a different setup program shortcuts? Yeah, that's fine. Let's add it. Oh no, we do want to create a startup menu folder, so that's fine. We move on to the next. Create a desktop icon to make it easier for us. Yes, we want to do that. We also want to add open with code in our files on the Explorer so that we can easily open it without coming to look for Visual Studio Code. Now it's ready to install. Click on install. Should be fairly quick, get the installation done, and we can open it up and go from there. Awesome. There goes the installation running through. And we're almost done with the installation. For now, we should be able to proceed from there. Awesome. Now we want to launch Visual Studio Code and see what it looks like. Open it up and finished. Let's maximize this so that it's easy for us to focus on that. So obviously You're welcomed with the welcome page. You're going to have multiple tabs at the top depending on what you're working with. You can easily start by setting up the themes. Maybe you want a dark theme or a bright theme or a modern dark theme. Let's keep it at that. You can also set up different languages. Obviously, Visual Studio Code is good because you can use any of these programming languages. We're going to start with HTML and CSS, so we are totally fine. You can also work with JavaScript and so on and so forth. So we don't want to browse the extensions yet. We'll look at that later on. Extensions are going to help you use Visual Studio in a more powerful or extend its features. You can also get extensions directly from here, which we'll look at later on. To tune your settings, do we want to do that? I don't think so. Set autosave and so on and so forth. I think by default it should be on. But let's open the settings and check it out. So autosave is off. We want to set a delay. So each time you delay, it's automatically going to save your work, and then we're good. Now syncing across devices, yeah, we don't need to worry about the rest of those. Opening up your code and so on and so forth. Everything looks good. If you need, you can watch the tutorials. They have some great tutorials. I think that's going to be useful for you, but feel free to do that. Now we're all done, and I can close this tab. From here, you can create a new file, open an existing file, open a folder so you can see all the files in there, or connect to possibly what we just looked at, the remote development workspace like GitHub. So we don't need to do that yet. We're going to get to that later on. But this is what Visual Studio Code looks like. If you want to expand the sidebar, you can click on it. First, you have the Explorer, which you can explore through the files in your folder. We haven't created any folders yet. Next, we have the search. You can search files. We don't have any files open here, so we don't need anything to search. This icon looks very similar to what we see, yeah, not in here, but it is actually representing version control or source control. So here you can install Git for Windows and then synchronize with GitHub, and you should be good to go. We'll get to that again. This just makes sure you check for bugs, you run your code and debug it. We haven't written any code yet. And extensions, we're going to look at those shortly once we start writing our code. And that's about it. Also, you can look at your accounts if you're going to create an account on the cloud or synchronize with a remote account at work and so on and so forth, or even GitHub accounts. And your settings are right here for you to modify and play with. Always make sure you check for updates, security reasons, and other features. Very useful. If you don't like the theme, you need to still change it. You can come back in here and change your theme. You know, there are so many different themes out there you can change. It's up to you, you know, keeping it simple or whichever format you like. So use an up and down arrow on your keyboard to browse through them, and you can pick one from there. But we want to stay with our modern dark theme for now. All right. So there are a bunch of extensions, as you can see, that you can pick from. We are not working with Python yet, but you have Python extensions. You have Live Server, which we're eventually going to work on. Prettier, those are all different extensions that we'll look at once we start talking about HTML. All right, so that's enough for getting you all set up. You do have your web browser. You also do have your Visual Studio Code. We're going to get our extensions later on. And we have GitHub account ready for us to be able to start pushing our code to the cloud and saving it online in case our laptop burns down or something crazy happens if it gets stolen. All right, so that's it for the setup, and we'll carry on from there. Catch you on the next video.